Hi, Genki Call here with your Soulforge offerings for the week of August 14th, 2023. I have multiple important points to make during this video because there's a bit going on you need to know about. The first thing is this. We are down to the last 2 weeks of this Mythic cycle. That means 3 weeks from now a new Mythic cycle will start, and the Mythic that you want the most could be in 3 weeks. So remember that when you are deciding whether or not to craft a Mythic this week. As far as the Mythics that we have in the drop table this week, we've got something really good in here, and that would be TINA-9000. But let's go over a couple of these legendaries. Garuda, King Mikhail, and High Priestess Chazka. All three of these do AoE damage. They do damage to every enemy. The most significant of which is High Priestess Chazka, because she is the only troop in the game that will conjure a light storm at the start of every single turn. And she does, like I said, damage to all enemies, and this is boosted by yellow gems and blesses all yellow allies. She's a really good troop, the best of the legendaries in the drop table, is my opinion. You know, it's all subjective. My personal opinion is that she is the best of the legendaries in here. Would I spend 800 diamonds on her? Probably not. It's very rare that a legendary is going to be worth 800 diamonds to craft. Something like Tesla, absolutely, no question whatsoever. But generally speaking, I don't recommend crafting legendaries unless you want it for a specific team or you need it for a power level. As far as the Mythics go, TINA-9000, she is a fantastic it. She's a machine. She does a range of true damage to 3 random enemies and gains a bunch of armor. And that is significant because she adds 50% of her armor to skull damage. So my armor is 112, divide that by 2, and add that to the amount of skull damage that she's going to do. So yeah, that about doubles the skull damage that she's going to do. And if the math is wrong, it may be wrong. Don't tell me I'm wrong. You can tell me I'm wrong. It's okay. But you know, I'm mathing at 3 o'clock in the morning. So, spell damage reduction by 50%. She has no skull damage reduction, meaning that she's a little squishy unless she manages to cast and get that armor increased before your enemy starts hitting her with skulls. But she is a very, very good troop. You can get a 50% mana start with her by using a Mechanist class as well. So, really good troop. King Bloodwood, not so much. This guy does heavy splash damage to an enemy, boosted by entangled and bleeding enemies. He steals life from all enemies. Sounds pretty good. But, you know, splash damage just isn't that powerful. It's not my preferred method of doing damage. I would rather do damage to all enemies than splash damage, and splash damage, I'll show on the screen. And heavy splash damage is better than regular splash damage, but here is what it does. If you want to pause it, you can check that out. These troops have to be touching in order to get the splash damage. He has skull damage reduction by 33%, and he does entangle and inflict bleed on a random enemy when matching 4+ gems, meaning that he would be good to run with a troop like Tannenbaum that does triple skull damage to entangled enemies. Next is Mother of Darkness. She used to be probably the most used troop for attacking in PvP because she was part of this meta team with the Night Spider. But Night Spider has been changed, and now instead of creating purple gems, he creates web gems, which can backfire on you. I will add a link to my Mother of Darkness video that shows that team if you want to check it out. But she does true damage to an enemy and the enemy below them, whether they're touching or not. And that's boosted by purple gems. If the enemy dies, create 12 purple gems, and you loop and you loop and you loop. Provided that you don't lose control of the board when you're using Night Spider, it works very well. And summon a Dark Storm when an enemy dies. That, of course, is going to help you as well. Next up is Archproxy Yvendra. We love Archproxy Yvendra. I love Archproxy Yvendra because I love Doom Skulls. Not only does she create Doom Skulls, she creates Uber Doom Skulls. Those do 10 damage each, plus they explode like a 5x5 area of the board instead of just an explosion. So very, very nice. All yellow gems to Uber Doom Skulls. Curse, Weapon, Poison the strongest enemy. Conjure an Uber Doom Skull when an enemy dies. Spell damage reduction and the Dark Ancestry immunities. Let's see, and I think that's it. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4. Yes, we went over all of them. Now, I said I had more really important information for you. There are a couple of things I want to mention. The most important of which is the weapon that is not currently in the not currently available because it is Monday. Effective tomorrow and only tomorrow, on Tuesday, August 15th, you will be able to get the Umbral Tome. And let me pull that up for you. Alright, the Umbral Tome is important because it does damage to all enemies boosted by Umbral Stars. Not worried about the Umbral Stars. I just like the fact that it does damage to all enemies and it conjures a Dark Storm every time you cast it. It uses purple and yellow, so that works very well with the book. How important is this? It may not be important to you, but I really like the weapon personally. It's working out great in this week's event, for the early levels anyway, and really nice in delving as well. Again, only available on Tuesday during the Faction Assault for Umbral Nexus, and you can get it in the shop for the event for the Faction Assault for gems instead of diamonds in the Soulforge, so keep that in mind as well. Returning to what you can get, Wand of Stars is always here. From now on, it's going to be permanent in the Soulforge, so we're not going to go over that. Nature's Star, or Natura's Star, this is one of the 75 diamond cheapo weapons, which are really, really nice to have so that you don't get power level blocked by weapons. This one removes all brown gems, does damage to an enemy boosted by the gems removed, and if the enemy is from Nexus or the battles in Nexus, do double damage. And it does entangle the first enemy as well. Thorn's Blade. This thing is going to do damage to an enemy boosted by green and elemental allies. So, you know, an extra 3 damage for each green and each elemental ally. It does start a leaf storm and entangles the first enemy as well. Next is Vulcan's Mace. You know, I really like Vulcan's Mace, but Ocea's Tome is better. Vulcan's Mace is fantastic to run with 3 King Heliodors. Does damage to an enemy boosted by Nexus allies, then creates a mix of 6 red and brown gems for each Nexus ally. King Heliodor uses just brown and red, and it creates brown gems every single turn, so you can loop really nicely with that team. So this is fantastic with King Heliodor. But Ocea's Tome, this is absolutely a must-have. This is a really excellent weapon. Explored 4 gems for each blue ally and each elemental ally. So if they're all elementals, I mean, even if you don't have any blue allies, if they're all elementals, it's still going to just blow up the whole board. It's just amazing. And it creates an ice storm as well. Super, super nice. Next is Christus Scythe. This one stuns all enemies and then creates 3 elemental stars. It's okay. And then we have 2 more. First is the Doomed Tanto. This is, you know, just a random doomed weapon that you may or may not want to have. I mean, it's a lot of diamonds. I would recommend waiting on this. There are plenty of weapons for Nexus right now, so you don't really have to craft this right now. If you don't have it yet, maybe wait on it. Craft other things, because Nexus can only go up to level 19 right now anyway, so maybe wait a little bit on that. Lastly, we have Elemental Fury. Absolutely do not craft this. Don't craft it. If you're doing the raid boss event, you get it in the event shop. And it's a great weapon, but don't waste your diamonds when you can get it for your gems in the event shop for raid boss. It explodes brown gems, grants a random status effect to all Nexus allies, and summons a Nexus troop. It is green and red, but instead of paying 200 diamonds for it, you can just go into the raid boss event and get it for tier 3 right here in the shop for gems. So anyway, that is what I have for you this week for your Soulforge. Remember that we have a new Mythics cycle starting in 3 weeks. Have a wonderful day or night wherever you may be, and we'll see you soon. Bye-bye!